Welcome everyone to the why, the what, the how of career clusters and why you need to know about it. I'm Julie Howar. I'm the Dean over Corporate and Community Education. And thanks for coming. I will introduce my lovely assistant, not assistant.
I can be Vanna White today.
There you go.
Yeah.
We've been told we have to stay close to the microphones, so.
Sure. I'm Corrine Brown. I'm a full-time faculty member in AIT, or Ag and Industrial Technologies. I teach horticulture, but I am the co-chair of the Curriculum Alignment Strategic Planning Team with Julie.
Mm-hmm. And just to mention, we do have an opening for a full-time faculty member and an at-large position for a staff member, so please consider joining one of the strategic teams, but most importantly ours. Okay. So Corrine is going to start us off with a quiz, so I'll hand it over to her.
Sure. So one of the things we've been charged with as a strategic planning team this year is to bring the idea or kind of the thinking process towards career clusters and what does that mean on ICC. So if you have a phone or computer or anything with you, you can chime in and kind of add to our discussion here. If you're going to do a text message, you just text that Corrine Brown 337 to the phone number that's listed there, the 37607, and that will allow you to join our little poll, and you can input that. If you're on a computer, the website at the top, pollev.com, and then the / my name with the 337. I do this in class just so students see my name spelled multiple times in one day. But the first question is just simply, one or two words. What does career cluster mean to you currently? And maybe you're sitting here because you know nothing about career clusters, and that's perfect. Julie and I have found in our discussion that, I don't know, what's the percentage you want to throw out there? Like 75, 80% of people that we talk to really don't have a good understanding of what career cluster actually is. It's a short quiz. There's only 3 questions today. I know.
It's a test before classes
start. It is.
This week, right?
Oh,
there we
see?
Go. Oh.
I knew someone could do it. Group of career or a variety. Oh.
Okay.
I like this one.
So these are the responses?
Mm-hmm. Impressive if that was a text message, whoever did this rapid typing there. There we go. A grouping of degree or certifications under an umbrella topic.
Is anybody waiting for theirs to come out?
All right.
The next one's mine.
All right, as I load here, Julie and I are really striving to kind of just give you a good idea today of what career clusters really are, right? And then we're going to look at how does that affect maybe my individual role here at ICC? Because I think a lot of us have maybe seen this coming down or in various areas of our job over the last year, and it's something that we will see more and more of.
And some of you may not have ever heard of it, because what we found out as our team presented to the champion team about 9 months ago, some of our cabinet members even didn't know what career clusters were, because it's really, it started out as a K through 12 initiative through the Board of Education, and now is moving into the community college realm, and it has been for a while, but we didn't really talk about it, but they talk about it a lot in the high schools. Any more? Okay.
Yeah. So, if you know little or nothing about career clusters, you can vote or just shout out. Do you think your position at ICC is affected or influenced by career clusters? Maybe you don't know yet, maybe you've already seen it, maybe you were kind of in the boat that some of us were, that we don't really know how, but I'm sure that it's going to affect us. So some of us have seen it. Anyone in that A category don't think they'll be affected? Good. Any Bs? Yeah, I'm sometimes still a B here, right? That I'm sure it does. I'm just not sure how we're going to feel the impact of this. And then some of us, if you've been working in admissions or working in marketing or recruiting or in our workforce development, yeah, you probably have already seen how career clusters are being utilized here at ICC. The last one, just a little trivia or knowledge here, something we'll talk about today. How many career pathways are there that are recognized at the national level?
Just take a wild guess.
Yeah. You can shout out a number too if you don't want to enter it in.
25.
25 career clusters.
That's a nice number.
200.
11, 9, 200. Going to the pros.
Those are all good numbers, and we'll be giving you the answer here, right?
I did 27.5. Just
27 and a half.
27.
The half career clusters, just to,
You would make
just
it
to cover our
27 and a
bases.
half.
You would make it
Okay.
difficult. We're developing, right? We're always developing.
So-
All right.
Hopefully, right, when we get done with this, you'll be able to better answer
Yeah.
what career clusters are, how many of them are there, and how are they going to affect your role here at ICC.
We can go on to the next one. So
Yeah.
we'll, those are your, yeah.
Yep. Oh, I forgot.
Okay, so just as a definition, and whoever gave us the answers, you were very close, because career clusters are groups of occupations and industries. They all have a common set of foundational knowledge and skills. Somebody gave the example of health careers. Health careers is definitely a career cluster. There are 16 career clusters, okay? And we'll look at it. The next slide, actually. Okay, this is old, but I still like the graphic, because it shows the career clusters, but it starts out looking at the essential knowledge and skills, or those work-ready skills. But then the hexagon are actual CTE areas in secondary education, okay? So you might have heard of things like family and consumer science in the high schools, health sciences, agricultural education, business marketing and computer education, and technology, engineering and education. From those, we have the 16 different career clusters, okay? And that's those major groupings, like hospitality and tourism under health science. It's health science down here. Law, public safety, corrections. Now, what I have for you is an updated version, or the ICCB version of career clusters. Okay. That shows all the different clusters. And as you look at that, you'll start to, some of them sound familiar because they sound like the programs that we have here at ICC. So if you want to go to the next. So another definition we want to look at is program of study. That's courses that fit into a sequence into a program of study that fall within those career clusters. Okay? There's about 79 of those or more. I think they're being developed all the time, but there are about 79. So 16 career clusters with 79 programs of study that students can enter into. We may or may not have all of those programs of study. Those are what is included in the document from ICCB. Okay. Now, if you've been involved in a program of study here at ICC or any of the CTE programs, they all are organized by SIP codes. So SIP codes is basically the way we categorize offerings, program offerings, at a statewide level, also at nationwide. Okay, it's how we track enrollments, we track completions, graduations, and it's also the bridge between secondary and post-secondary. Okay, so that we know that students who are looking at a field of study or a program of study in high school and starting to take that pathway of courses into a post-secondary education, that's how we track where those students are going. Okay? So all SIP codes are linked to a specific career cluster and career pathways at the national level.
And so that's what you'll see some of the work we've done here at ICC already is aligning our programs, packaged units that students can take. What's the SIP code associated with those? And so what career cluster then do they really align with or are housed under? And so we'll look at kind of the layout of where are our programs found, what career clusters do they lie in, and this is what it's really tied back to, is that SIP code that's there to determine what pathway, what career cluster our established programs already fit into.
So put your student hat on for a minute, okay? And think, how do students go about the process of trying to decide what program of study they're going to go into? And you may have seen something, I was going to mention this later, and we'll talk about it, I think, later, but the PACE framework, if any of you saw Arnetria Shaw's presentation yesterday, she talked quite a bit about the PACE network and framework, which is basically the individual learning plan that students go through from 8th grade through all the way through high school. It's the classes that they're going to take once they've thought about what career cluster they want to be. You know, if they want to go into health sciences, then that career cluster would guide them to what classes they need to take or what activities, maybe work-based learning experiences, other general education courses. It could be program courses, apprenticeships eventually.
Even just volunteer service hours that maybe they're doing for organizations, aligning that with a career choice or a particular field or industry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we're thinking about how students progress through that process, they're starting with looking at, well, doing some career exploration, right? And looking at different options, and that's what the PACE framework starts with. And then they start to build on the knowledge and skills that they need and possibly earn credentials along the way. They choose a career pathway, continuing to build on those knowledge and skills and more credentials along the way. So in health careers, maybe that looks like taking some gen ed classes through early college, okay? And then getting a CNA their junior or senior year of high school, and continuing to build on that until they come here to ICC.
So I think the best thing about this is that as they're kind of moving through this pattern, right, exploring careers, identifying their own skills and strengths, and then aligning them with a program here. In previous years, with our course offerings, how the catalog has been arranged and how we presented information to students, they may have had a specific career in mind, and then we had an alphabetical listing of programs, right, for them to look through. With the career cluster model, because they've been working through that or will have been looking at that as a middle school and a high school student, once they've found that area that aligns with their skill set, aligns with their interests, they've explored that area, now when they're seeing our marketing materials and coming through and looking at career clusters, they maybe have a narrowed down picture, right, of like, I don't know exactly what it is called that I want to do, but I know it probably falls in this little package of 5, 10, 15 programs or courses that I can look at versus everything that we have to offer and throw at them at one time. And then you can see the credentials that move through that. There might be multiple credentials within that career cluster that align nicely together. And so you see that kind of flow within each of those spaces, each of those clusters.
So, just to answer part of the why you need to know about career clusters, it helps us develop our programs of study. Okay, we design those, or we try to design those so that they align with the secondary schools, and we're able to build that pathway. Margaret Swanson worked extensively last year with faculty and with school districts on aligning their courses, the school districts' courses, with our early college offerings. And we did that in healthcare, manufacturing, IT, all of the career clusters have been done now. It also helped, well, and I mentioned it helps to bridge that secondary and post-secondary schools, but it helps create an individual plan for the student. So they find where their interests lie, and they begin to start working on that at an earlier age. It helps students discover their interests and passions as well, and it empowers the student to choose the pathway that can lead to success in high school, college, and career. So they're choosing the one that they have a passion for, that they're interested in. They're not wasting their time on something that may not be a good fit for them. So again, why do you need to know? It's touching almost everything we do here at ICC. And we'll go into some depth here, but certainly advising, and RC is going to talk a little bit about that and the advertising.
Thank you, Julie. Good. Thank you, Corrine. I think it's important, if you attended Anita's session yesterday about the PACE program, which is monitored by the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, career clusters is introduced to a student in junior high. Now, it might be kind of new to them in the last few years because it's only been mandated in the last couple of years, but if you have kids in junior high, their career cluster is already introduced to them. So that by the time they go into high school, they have some sort of an idea of what classes they're going to be taking. So they're introduced to this in junior high. Then every year, they are actually advised, what career cluster do you want to go in? So I've got a couple of handouts here. I'm just going to group them here together, and you can just pass them around. If you look at these documents, first of all, this red document that I handed out, I'll just actually let it back. The whole idea of the PACE idea is to introduce college planning earlier the better, so that our students are more involved and have the probability to be successful. Our guidance counselors in high school are using documents like this. This is only a sample of the transportation one, but there are 15 other documents like this that our area high schools are using. They'll sit down with a student, they'll say, you want to go into transportation, why? Well, they'll first say, well, they go to the bottom. Here are some of the jobs that you can be doing if you are interested in transportation, and possibly looking at income also. And these would be national incomes. Here, as we talk about here at ICC, we might use MZ data because that's local salaries and income that they could be possibly earning if they wanted to stay here in Central Illinois. But when they're registering for courses for their freshman year in high school, they're saying, do you have an idea what you want to go into, so that we can start to, as a guidance counselor, we can start to outline some courses for that student and build a pathway for them in high school. You can see as they get into their junior and senior year, it gets a little bit more detailed. They have more options in terms of choices. If you have high school kids in juniors and seniors, or you've been through this, you know this already. You've already said, you want to go into business? You want to take accounting 1 there? Some of your schools might offer that. Some of you might say, you want to do dual credit. Do you want to take a course at ICC and also the high school? So we're introducing the idea of getting into a potential area of study. It even talks about, to the student, activities that they possibly can get involved in, okay? And then plans out if you're planning on getting a certificate, or do you want to get a 2-year degree or a 4-year degree? So our students in the district are already getting familiar with career clusters every year. Now, at ICC, all of our marketing strategies. We're designing all of our marketing strategies, and we've been doing it for the last 12 months. Everything we do, from the moment someone inquires at ICC, we are putting them into a career cluster. Not even as an applicant, just as a prospect. Even when we go out at area schools or college fairs, whatever we do, we're talking about career clusters because the students are supposed to understand, not all of them do, in reality, not all of them do, but they already are familiar with the career clusters. So we're aligning ICC's programs with career clusters. And that's how, because they're familiar with it, that's how we're marketing it to them. Now, ICC only has 15 of the 16 career clusters. There's one that we're missing. Any guess? Whatever 1 out of 16, whatever that probability is. Marketing. That's the only one we no longer have the marketing career cluster here at ICC. But we represent the other 15 of the 16 other career clusters here at ICC. So we have a lot to offer our students, and that's awesome that we have that. Opportunity for our students, to provide that opportunity for our students to get to be educated in a number of different areas and be prepared and help them for a post-secondary education. So.
Thank you. Okay, we also pulled up some of the other areas where you're going to see career clusters. The website, if you go to academics on the ICC website and pull down where it'll say the catalog, and underneath the catalog it says career pathways. You'll see all of the career clusters built out. RC mentioned our application. College night is another, is an event that you'll see career clusters represented, as well as campus visits. Early college and CTE pathways, as I mentioned here on the website. One thing I wanted to mention too, financial aid. This is very important to financial aid as well, because we know that students who come to college to kind of explore what they want to do, many times run out of financial aid. And so by identifying a career cluster earlier, it doesn't mean that they can't drop out of a career cluster. So if they decide that health sciences, isn't going to work for them, they can change. It's not that. It's just it's more likely that they're going to stay in a pathway and continue to work through. Okay. All right. So why do we care? It's about students. Okay. In the past, our catalog has been organized by department or alphabetically. The programs were listed alphabetically. That's not how students find information, okay? They want those pathways grouped together online. They want to be able to find the information in a way that makes sense to them. So it helps them find the credentials that they're going to need, helps them earn the credential that they need, helps them save money in the long run, and they're going to save time because they're going to be working on that pathway all the way through, earning some early college or some credentials ahead of time. Okay, so it's really about the students.
And I think it's always best, I love obviously talking about things in theory, but whenever you see things come to fruition and students actually work through this process. So being in horticulture, I'm lucky in that my career cluster is relative, there's not a whole lot of programs, right? We're ag and natural resources. But what I love most about it is that when people start thinking bigger picture. So ever use the umbrella, right, in your description of career cluster, because a student may initially have a thought process of, well, they like working with plants, right? Maybe they want to be a botanist or a plant geneticist, and then they look at that program of study and they see, oh, I have to take 3 chemistry classes, and that just doesn't feel like that's actually what I want to do. In our old system and our old organization of things, right, they may be locked in and they may see other biology options, right, close by there, or other plant-related options, but horticulture may be completely off of their radar as a CTE area or as a career that they could pursue. And so with having that larger umbrella, that cluster, right, of natural resources and plant-based tracks, well, now those 2 items show up very closely to each other, and then they can start to compare really apples to apples, right? Okay, I know that I want to work with plants, but chemistry and plant genetics or being a botanist doesn't really align with my skill set or what I want to do. Oh, but here's a horticulture option that still has me working with plant materials, doesn't have a chemistry requirement, right? Has another lab science that fits in there and seems like it's a much better option. And so when Julie mentions the financial aid, right, those are close enough related that there is some course overlap. And that's what I think we'll eventually start to see with the career clusters, is that rather than students making that broad swing, right, of jumping from one area to something completely unrelated where the courses don't coincide with each other, maybe they're making those smaller jumps or adjustments where I'm still within the cluster, oh, but here's the best fit. And if they're doing that exploration as early as junior high and high school, then it's not, I'm feeling like, right, my Hort 110 class doesn't become where I dip my big toe in and see is horticulture what I want to be doing. I've gotten some of that backbone built up in my high school exploration, that's the way I'm moving whenever I get to ICC.
We've kind of mentioned the catalog, and I didn't pass this out. This is the page 7 of the catalog. This year's catalog is organized into career clusters, and it's really interesting. So as our team was working with the Achieving the Dream coaches, they asked, why were our programs organized in the catalog alphabetically? Well, that becomes very confusing for students because in my former world in business, a student who was looking for a business degree, find it in the B's, right? But then what if they were interested in supply chain management? It was clear at the other end of the catalog. So organizing by career clusters them all together, and they can find them a little more easily and by interest. Any questions?
Well, I'll say, the catalog with the career cluster ordering is, it's a little different. And the older students who this is new verbiage to them, I mean, what did we learn yesterday? Over half our students are non-traditional. They haven't heard career cluster either.
Right.
So thank God for the table of contents in the front, because they're still looking for B. The half of our students, I mean, this is great for the traditional bundle of students. But I think if we get, this is just my opinion, it's not worth anything. We have to remember that other group who is not used to this new stuff. I mean, it's great that once they find the B and they find it's on page whatever, then they see the related careers. But if they're just looking at it without that table of contents page, it's a little off-putting.
Yeah, and so I think what we see too, and you can see it kind of from the marketing standpoint too, we're not dropping any of our program titles, right? Like our certificate and our associate degree, especially in the CTE areas, like they're maintaining their names, those are put with them also, so that student who knows, I know the name of the program, right, that I'm going into already, we don't want them to be lost in the career cluster. So you still see those listed out, that they still have access to that. It's just I think maybe opens options for them too though then, right? Because then if they're looking, I know the name of what I do want to study, well then right around with them, because it's by the career cluster, are going to be closely related programs that maybe they thought they were really interested in one thing, but as I'm reading through the list, I didn't realize this was an option, but here it is in that same cluster, right?
Well, I perfectly agree with you, but I'm just saying that table of contents, I have used it over and over again.
Well, and I would say too, our students probably aren't using the hard copy catalog. In fact, we don't print very many. So they're going online and searching. And so as they search, then they're automatically being taken to that career cluster. Yeah.
But they're still doing it by letter. A lot of them are starting that way. They're not saying, you know, I want to be in some areas, yes, but I mean, the students I see, they've got an area kind of, and it's a useful marketing tool. And then I have a second question. These, all right? I remember last year when Margaret Swanson, I take it this is the Margaret Swanson project?
Not
They're-
That's
completely.
not ours,
They're
that's,
different.
that's a school, that's a
So
school.
that's what
priority.
the high schools are using.
That's a high school.
But that was her job, was to take our programs and work with the schools in the area and develop these pathways.
That are on our website.
Where, she came, she met with the faculty, and that was it, man, it went into crickets. So if they're already done,
They're on the website.
Mhm.
we have to go onto the website to find these.
Mhm.
Where?
Yeah.
Under, okay, under catalog, and then it'll say career pathways.
Mhm.
Click on that, and you'll find.
Yeah, because horticulture is one that was completed.
Well, I mean, we met with her a year ago, or a year and a half ago, and she was gonna be developing these.
Yep,
Yeah.
so if you
But
look,
crickets.
so academics, catalog, and then there's the career
Okay.
pathways. And so I'll pull up mine just because it's
Well,
up
can you
here.
scroll down?
Yeah.
See what else is there?
Yeah, so agriculture, food, and natural resources is there, architecture's done, business management, information systems, management, health sciences, and what, hospitality, tourism, human services, information technology, law, public safety, corrections, security, manufacturing,
So this is,
transportation, distribution. Not all 16 are completed, all 15 are
understand.
completed yet.
who's responsible for keeping these up to date?
You would want to tell your dean
That's what I want.
if you know you need to make corrections, and then she would contact Todd Irons probably, I would guess, yeah.
Go through marketing. So,
Yeah.
So basically, the department coordinator would actually, could work with approval from the dean, could work with marketing. But then, in theory, the dean would say, here are all of our careers and pathways designed, and you can now put that on the web. So it has to go through marketing, and Todd would be assigned to it rather than going straight to Todd.
Yeah.
So we
Thank
go
you.
through our dean.
Yeah.
We don't bypass our dean. We go through our dean and say, hey, the programs have been updated, which is not reflected in these pathway documents. So
Yeah.
we need to get those fixed, talk to our dean,
You'll have
and
a-
she can.
With all the changes that you've made this
Yeah.
summer, you'll have quite a few, yeah,
And
you will.
some of it, though, some of it I think is automatic.
That's good. Mhm.
Because I believe like the credit hours and some of that is pulling directly from CDS. So once
Yeah.
it's been through curriculum and updated in CDS,
Yeah.
some of that automatically should be changing on here. I would say if you don't see it
Sure.
changing, then yeah, that's
Yeah.
the time
Because
to.
that's not gonna change the number of
It's not going
hours.
to change those.
This would, those changes will impact this. And so somebody's responsible for that, right?
That would
Around
be
here?
communication between,
This is created by a school district or two. So another school district in the area could have something different.
Right.
So yes, are they getting guidance from someone, be it Dr. Swanson or someone else? Correct. This is not, I want to make sure you understand, this is not an ICC document. These are school districts. This is an example of what schools and guidance counselors are using to provide some guidance in terms of what they're taking in high school, so that they're introduced to it. Now, just so you know, the idea of career clusters has been around for over 20 years.
I know.
So it's been there. However, I don't think anybody's really taken the initiative to really introduce it. So in theory, my 20-year-old college student should already know what career clusters are. She doesn't, but she should, because it should have been introduced, because she was in high school when career clusters were there. It is now being mandated by the state of Illinois. So to better prepare our students.
Okay. I don't think you're getting where I'm going, but I think start with the dean and move up, because the information that the schools are getting then is no longer correct. So then they would be advising their students on an outdated data.
Sure.
Based on a degree
Is what
or a
I'm
program.
saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So who's responsible for, you know, these are just documents that they created at a static period of time.
Right.
Curriculum is evolving.
Typically,
So,
the academic deans will hear, not from all school districts, but the larger ones, and may look at some of those occasionally. That's not a good answer, I know, but I know occasionally I was asked to provide input.
because I mean, I looked at like, you know, those articulation agreements and those, what do you call them? To go to the 4-year.
Yeah.
Equivalency guides.
What?
Equivalency guides?
No.
Okay.
Where they go here and then
2
they can go
plus
2 more
2s.
years, you know,
2
with
plus
those
2s?
agreements.
Yeah.
You look at some of those and like, we don't even offer those programs anymore. So even that, you follow what I'm saying?
Sure.
So I realize there's a lag,
Right.
but how can we make sure that the high school students, the traditional students who are coming through this career cluster focus have appropriate information? And that's
Can I
the-
ask for an example? What has changed in your area that affects an 8th
I'm
grader?
business and office,
Okay, thank
so
you.
quite a bit,
Okay,
okay? And quite a bit's about to.
okay.
So in order to, because it's on that list, so in order to make sure that the high school people get the right info, I want to know my process. And
I'm not sure.
And we
if
made
the
a ton
deans
of
have a
changes
process.
curricularly this summer in the business and all of those. So that is, okay, now we have to take the next step. I mean, somebody has responsibility for this.
Right.
You know, the faculty goes and gets the curriculum done and all that, but then what happened?
Well, and you know, Arnitria Shaw's team is working with the high schools and guiding them as to what courses that they should be taking in early college. So that's an important piece here.
Yeah.
That if, for instance, in Business 110, you know, we know is a good class for students in the high schools to take, and possibly business law. The math that they take is pretty standard, you know, in that if they're thinking about business. So there's not going to be a whole lot of fluctuation, you know, in all of the programs, but certainly I can see in those program level classes there would be some.
Yeah. I just want to make sure the information's right.
Yeah, right.
And I don't want to just be wandering around knocking on doors. So I'm like, okay.
You don't have to do that. I would talk
Talk
with
to
your
Michelle.
dean and talk to, and have her check in with Arnitria Shaw.
Okay. Because if you walk up, the marketing has a whole different process, so you
Yeah.
have nothing to bring to them, so it's like, okay,
Yeah.
that would not be, that's wasted effort.
Are these the same career clusters that are indicated, or that when you go to the website and take the online assessment, like the 6-minute and then or the
Career
6 question
coach?
and 60,
Mhm.
those are the ones that?
Yep, yep, they sure are. And those lead directly to ICC programs.
I will say sometimes the MC data, I think, pulls you out into one of the like 79 pathways versus the large cluster, but if you work your way back, you can see that it's part of the larger
It
cluster.
starts with the clusters, and
Yeah.
then you click the clusters, and then
And
it
then
shows
it displays,
the-
the different pathways that
And
are
you
in
have that
there.
MC data, you have to definitely limit the mileage, otherwise you're into Chicago.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Actually,
that's
on
a
the-
terrible skew.
On the Career Coach website, though, Chicago is not included
Included in the
that,
first.
But the suburbs are, southwest suburbs.
Sure, some of the
So,
suburbs
yeah.
are, yes.
So it skews how much they can make. Yeah. So I know, you just limit the miles and that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you for listening. And if you think of any other questions, and again, if you would like to join our strategic team, we would love to have you. It's my plug.
Right? We need a plug.
Yeah.